Everyone, and welcome to our regularly scheduled meeting for January 13th, 2025. Welcome to all. We would like to begin this evening with land acknowledgement and prayer, and I would ask Trustee Hoffman to provide both of those this evening.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We would like to acknowledge that we are on the traditional lands of Treaty 8 territory and the homelands of the Métis people. We recognize the land on which we stand is the ancestral land of the Indigenous peoples and is common home to everyone in virtue of God, our Creator's gracious gift. Let us pray in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this new year, for all the excitement and possibilities that lay before us. We ask that as we wrap up this Christmas season, that the fruits and spirit of the season will remain with us throughout the year, that the nativity of God made man will continue to awe us and renew our desire to serve with love, especially as the leadership of this school district. May we constantly be filled with your wisdom, your peace, your joy, and a desire most of all to conform ourselves, our activities, and our decisions to your gracious and perfect will. We offer up all of our deliberations of the following year to the intercession of the Blessed Virgin Mary. May she perfect our requests before her Son and bring them to the highest possible end. We ask this through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
Thank you, Vice Chair Hoffman. We move now to item number 4, the adoption of the agenda. Since the agenda originally was published, we do have some additions. Under item number 12, we will be adding board approval of revised board policy 5 and revised board policy 7. So I would ask I'm looking for a motion from a trustee to accept the adoption of the agenda as presented with the revisions.
I move that we accept the adopt the agenda as presented.
And all in favor?
Do.
I am in favor.
So moved. Thank you. Moving now to item number 5, the adoption of the minutes. We've had a chance to the board regularly scheduled board meeting of December 9th. Board minutes were the board minutes were circulated for our review. I'm looking for a trustee to approve those board minutes as presented, unless there are any omissions or deletions that I'm not aware of.
I move that we approve the regular board meeting minutes of December 9th, 2024 as presented.
And all in favor?
In favor.
In favor.
Thank you. So moved. We move now to item number 8, and I cede the floor to Superintendent MacArthur-Poole.
Thank you, Chair Langmead. Good evening, everyone. Here with us this evening are the principal and vice principal of St. Anne's School. So Jason Campbell being the principal and Rachel Lambert being the vice principal. And they are going to be presenting about some happenings that are occurring at St. Anne's School. So I will take it over. They can take it over. And I believe you have the ability to present if you have a presentation for us, Jason.
All right. Let's see if I can get this to work. Rachel and I were joking beforehand. It's been a long time since we've had to do a virtual presentation. It's a skill you think you retain until you get into this situation, and then you're trying to remember instinctively how everything works. So hopefully I will share the screen, and then I won't be able to see what's happening, but I will hope that this is going to work. Oh. Wrong button. Already I'm off to a great start. Are you able to see our slideshow? All right. Okay, so I have to click over in order to click forward. So thank you so much for the opportunity to speak to you this evening. Every year it's an interesting time for us to decide what it is we are going to share with the trustees, but it's a great chance for us to kind of take stock and audit how the year has gone, and to highlight some of the things that we are doing here at St. Anne's School. And so this evening, Rachel and I are going to walk you through our year theme this year. This is actually the first year of what we're anticipating being a 2 or 3 year project. And it is our year theme called You Were Made for Greatness. If you've driven by St. Anne recently, you'll notice the front of our building now features a rather large bright blue banner with the saying You Were Made for Greatness. And that is intentional for a variety of reasons. So I'd like to just chat a little bit first before we get into discussing what the project is this idea of what it is we're trying to accomplish with our theme this year. So one of the things that has come up in our stakeholder feedback, formally and informally, with students and parents and staff here at St. Anne's School, that post-COVID and post-Leader in Me, there has been a real craving for us to have a whole school unified theme or approach to the year, in addition to our division faith theme, but something that brings us all together working toward a specific goal as a school community. St. Anne's School was one of the first on the ground with Leader in Me, and we did it with extreme fidelity, and it was a wonderful program that met the needs of many of our students and families pre and post wildfire. But in the years since COVID, we've kind of moved our way away from Leader in Me for a variety of reasons, but it's one of those things where it's a program that is very valuable, but it did run its course. And the staff and students and families here, and Trustee Galanzowski, your both boys were here during our Leader in Me heydays. It was such a huge feather in the cap of our school to have an identity piece that really set us apart, and made us feel unified together, working toward a common goal that was a little bit different than every other building in the city and in our school division. And so our teachers and our students and our families are kind of craving that approach again. And so Rachel and I sat down and looked at where we could find a way to kind of bring back that idea of a whole school. Everybody's working towards something in addition to academics and sports and athletics and all of those other bits and pieces that come as part of what we do. But could we do something that could really rally everyone back together in an interesting way? And when we looked at the success of Leader in Me in the building, the one thing that we would say was an area of growth with that program is a more faith-based approach, something rooted in faith and fellowship, to achieve those same kind of goals that Leader in Me set for us and achieved for many years. So student empowerment, community building, school branding, all of those things. But could we look at it from a faith perspective and bring that back to our school as something unique that we are working on here together at St. Anne's School? And so that's where we landed with this idea of greatness. So as I mentioned, the big blue banner, there's lots of research out there that says you are what you see. And when you walk into a school and you look at the walls and you look at the bulletin boards and you look at all of the public spaces in your school, what is it saying about the building that you're in? And one of the benefits of the Covey model with Leader in Me is that the branding was on point. We had Leader in Me stuff all over every wall. Our gym was painted with giant murals. And you could walk into our school and without ever saying a word, you could know what we were about. And so for the last couple of years, we've been doing a great job of switching what is on our walls to reflect what it is that we're prioritizing. We've made an effort to include more math on our walls, more language arts on our walls. And in this year, we've embarked upon a new approach in making sure that our greatness theme, which is rooted in faith, and I'll talk about that in a second, is what you see when you come into our school. There are banners over each of our wings, so the kids pass this saying, "You were made for greatness," every single day. They walk past it in the morning when they come in their doors. And our goal here is to really wrap them around this idea that God created them for a very specific purpose, and that purpose is greatness. And that every student that comes into our building is capable of amazing and wonderful things, similar to everyone can be a leader, but much more rooted in their personal value of how they feel about themselves, how they feel about their community, and how they feel about their faith. So throughout the next couple of years as we go, I love Vistaprint. I keep buying banners to put around the building, and they do serve a purpose in reminding the students what it is that we are about. So the question is, why greatness? And I don't know if you've seen the byline, "You were made for greatness," has been attributed to Pope Benedict for quite some time. The images pop up in memes all over the place, on social media and through other Catholic websites. And this idea of us as individuals, as students, as staff, as parents and families being created for greatness, is kind of my first entry point into this idea of creating the year theme. The challenge is that very simple byline, "You were made for greatness," is actually part of a much bigger quote that he included in one of his publications. And the idea is, and I'll share that with you in our next slide, but when you come in our front door too, part of this, not so much cost saving, but we walk past this, "We honor the greatness in you" every single day. If you've been in our building recently, this mural has existed at our front doors for at least 10, 12 years. And the kids walk under it without even realizing it was related to a Leader in Me initiative years ago. This idea of the greatness in you is this leadership capability. But it reminded me every time I walked under it of this other quote that Pope Benedict had spoken of, or at least was attributed to him for many years. This idea that we are vessels of God and we were made for greatness. So we have kept the front mural as our inspiration, and we've attached that as well to a faith theme to kind of frame out our year and frame out the next couple of years. So this is kind of our operational directive for Rachel and I and this teachers when we go about this new theme, which will explain how the project works for year one in a second. But the actual quote from Pope Benedict was, "Man was created for greatness, for God himself. He was created to be filled by God, but his heart is too small for the greatness to which it is destined, and it must be stretched." And so when we were looking at what we could do this year, next year, and the year after to stretch the hearts of the students and staff and families at St. Anne's School to make them vessels of God for the greatness that they were created, we've begun that journey this year. And so we're operating under the belief that each one of us is a vessel of love, joy, kindness, and greatness, and that every student and staff and family has the potential to do wonderful, amazing things that are different. One of the issues with the simplicity of the "You were made for greatness" quote attributed to Pope Benedict was it left greatness up to interpretation. Was it wealth? Was it money? Was it power? Was it being in leadership? Was it all of these other things? But when you look closer at what he intended, it was to be filled with the Spirit of God, and to go out and fill your community with the same sort of thing. So this year we began our journey through our greatness theme. And we started with looking to the saints. So at the end of last year, we met with Nick Murphy, who is our religious education consultant. He's an incredible resource for our school division. And when we were bandying about the idea of looking into this topic of greatness, we really found a common thread in looking to the saints. Our students in their religion curriculum learn about the saints, but we really wanted an opportunity to kind of dig deeper into the lives of the saints that the students may encounter and use them as examples of where you can rely on your faith and your abilities and your skills and your talents to do something great, to serve the people around you and to serve those that you are with in a positive way. And so what we did is we kind of laid out this idea of, if we're going to do some sub-themes and cycle through this idea of greatness and look at the saints, then we had to choose some saints And it was interesting for me. I was learning about saints that I didn't know of. Nick was great to share some of his ideas with us. And we settled on a group of saints that we think really exemplify what we want from our students, what we want them to gain in regards to understanding their capacity to be great. So our year one structure, as I said, we're viewing this as the first year to a multi-year structure. Similar to how Leader and Me would have worked. There's expectations that each year we change and we add and we modify what we're doing and build upon what we had done the year before until it becomes a fabric of our school. Because this is year one, we had a really simple structure and a really simple goal. We are going to use greatness sub-themes rooted in the saints. Each month or each cycle, the students have a story about one of the saints or a pair of saints that ties them to a greatness theme. They will then complete or have completed so far an individual small group activity that connects to their own understanding of what this greatness possibility means to them. And then a whole school activity that brings together in fellowship and encounter our students. And what we've done is we've created what we call faith buddies. So this year, one of our Division 2 classes is partnered with our Division 1 classes. So Bigs and Littles come together once a month to do a faith buddy activity that builds their faith and fellowship together, but it is also tied in with our greatness sub-theme that we are working on. And then there's always an individual reflection activity. We've been talking a little bit about prayer and how to get the students to be more thoughtful when they are being asked to pray or being called to pray. And we really thought that being more self-reflective and having an opportunity to think about how they respond to certain things in a way that was meaningful to them is step one in really encouraging a prayerful life. And so that makes up our year one structure. And again, as we go, Rachel and I are already looking to next year and how to build on this. But our goal this year is to really get the kids thinking about this idea that we are all gifts from God and we all have gifts and talents to share, and that greatness is going to look different for all of us as it did for all of the saints. They were all great. They all accomplished greatness in different ways. So we've completed 2 of our sub-themes, and we are about to embark on our third as we go through the year. Our very first one was St. Anne and St. Joachim. We grow our greatness through our family. It came as a shock to us how many of our students here at St. Anne School didn't know who St. Anne actually was. And so that was our starting point. St. Anne is Jesus's grandmother. St. Joachim, her husband, they raised Mary and they prepared her for a life of greatness and to the birth of Jesus. And we wanted the kids to really understand that St. Anne's School refers to a very specific saint and what that means. And so we chose, we grow our greatness through our family as our first sub-theme. And it really gave the kids an opportunity to look at their own families and how the people that are in their circles of love that they're surrounded with, how important those people are to their own development and to them for them to achieve what that God has or what God has planned for them. Our second one was St. Nicholas. Again, they all know a little bit about St. Nicholas, but if you haven't really dug into him as a saint, we get to Christmas time and, is he Santa Claus? Is he not Santa Claus? Who's important? What's important? And so we had a really good time learning about St. Nicholas. The theme that we worked through with him is we grow our greatness through acts of generosity and kindness. They learned about who St. Nicholas was, how he was connected to our modern day version of Santa Claus, but how he also connected to the story of the Nativity and how he is exemplifying through his faith in God some of the same things that our students need to, particularly around the holiday season. And then we are in a bit of a transitional period right now. We're going to move into St. John Bosco as our next saint. We grow our greatness through education. We thought the midway point of the school year was a great time to talk about how we grow our greatness through setting goals, being proud of ourselves, seeking to grow our understanding of the world around us in a meaningful way. So I am going to turn it over to Rachel. She's going to talk a little bit about our individual activities that we've completed so far. Had we hoped to be there in person, we would have had actual hard copies of the work to share with you. I hope you can see a little bit of what is on the screen so that you can see kind of the work that our students are doing. Like I said, each sub-theme comes with an individual small group activity that they do together. They're generally creating something. The next part, they do a whole group faith buddy activity where everyone in the school is pausing and doing something together. And then our reflection activity, which we'll share in a moment. But Rachel and I are going to try to coordinate me instinctively clicking the slides when she's ready, but she may have to tell me when it's time to switch over. So Rachel, over to you.
Okay, so the first thing that you're going to look at is called the Circle of Love Family Tree. This was our first individual activity where kids really got a chance to learn about St. Anne, her father, her husband, St. Joachim. I can never say that name. So many pronunciations. I've been watching videos all weekend. Joachim and Mary, and just to learn about the nature of their relationship and how much love they had to entrust in each other in order for Mary to be so great. And so when they really looked at their circle of love, they were encouraged to think about who is in the center of your circle. It might be your grandparent, it might be your mom, it might be your dad. Everybody's circle is going to look different. So if you actually take a moment to look at some of the circles, you can see that the one on your right, there are many, many people in that child's circle. We have one on the bottom there. It says Jakey. So it wasn't a parent in the circle to that child. It was a brother figure who was in the center of their circle, and then all the other little hearts are all around. So it really allowed kids to look at their circle of love. Who is it that loves them so much that enables them to grow? Just like Mary could grow under the care and love of her parents, they too can grow under the care and love of whoever they deem is the love and guiding light of their life. And so that interconnectedness to religion is really, really what made teachers and children sit back and actually kind of take a look at the love that makes them grow. In the next activity, oh, that's you, Jason. In our next activity, you can see this is the first time our actual faith buddies come together. We did a mural of St. Anne and St. Mary together. So, from a religious standpoint, oftentimes when you see Mary and Anne together, Anne is holding a book and kind of guiding her in her learning journey and nurturing her to become who she is. And so that care and love is fostered. So we really wanted to kind of correlate that to our kids working together. So we have our big students paired with our little students working together to kind of create a mosaic. In the next slide, if you look at the final, is there another slide there, Jason? Or this one right here? No, I think this is. In this slide here, you can see all the work that was created. So each child or pair would get one piece. They color it together to create their art piece, and then it's at the end, the whole class puts together their artwork to create a mosaic. And so when you walk around, if you have the opportunity to come visit us and walk around our school, it's kind of a little art gallery of the mosaics that have been created, guided by the story of both St. Anne and Mary, and the importance it is, to just have that love and nurturing. So as we kind of segued from Anne and Mary and, really kind of hoping our students would come to learn who St. Anne is, we moved forward to St. Nicholas. And with St. Nicholas, one of the things that we really wanted to focus on was the fact that he was the saint of giving, and not just about materialistic giving or helping the poor, but also about learning how to give the God-given talents that you have that make you you. And so if you look at those little boxes here, Each child is given a little cube where inside of their own present, their own personal gifts are things that they believe are the unique gifts of God that make them them. And you know, every year we do those surveys, and I think one of the questions is, are you a unique gift from God? And I don't think students really know how to answer that. So this is also kind of building on that as well. So they really had time to sit down and reflect and think about, what are the gifts that make me unique? What has God given me? And how can I attribute those gifts to the world to make it just a little bit greater? And so it's really cute. These are just ones from grade 1. There are 2 here. So I just thought it would be a cute little example to show you. You know, they think that these are the skills that I have that make me great and therefore can help me make the world a greater place. And then from there, we went into a whole school activity right before Christmas. We really needed this, actually. It was so busy in the last week of school and everything was chaotic. So our last day right before Christmas was a living Advent wreath liturgy. And so I know the pictures are a little bit dark, but if you look in the bottom left-hand corner, you can see that the whole gym is, we created a wreath made of satin, green satin. So each student sat down and were able to lift the satin onto their lap, paired with their faith buddy. And what we did was we took the 4 parts of the nativity story, guided by each of the lighting of each Advent candle, so, and then complemented with prayer. So as we told each part of a story, we would also do a lighting of the candle guided by prayer. And so they got to this experience that was kind of immersive and symbolic. So not only were they really, you know, they spent most of December learning all about St. Anne, all about St. Nicholas, then about Advent, but then they got to actually, in silence, guided with their faith, actually feel it and see it and touch it and experience it. And it was quite beautiful. Jason, if you don't mind just clicking the video, it's pretty quick, but it kind of gives you an idea.
Symbolizing God's eternal love. It is made of evergreen branches, reminding us of hope and renewal found in Christ.
And so, yeah, that could just give you just a little bit of a feel for how that went. It was very peaceful, very beautiful, and a way for us to quietly reflect on the joyfulness of the season.
All right, thank you so much, Rachel. The last component of our greatness plan for this year is our individual reflection activity that we're calling our greatness journals. And so every student, when they started with us in the fall, received a greatness journal. Our big kids have a small pocket-sized journal, which you can see on the left-hand side. And on the right-hand side are Div 1 kids who need much more space and much bigger lines in order to write. They have their individual coil bound. These were purchased by our school council in a partnership to support our greatness plan for the year. And how these operate, as I mentioned at the beginning, when we were looking at how we wanted the students to reflect, how we wanted them to come at this idea of greatness and working with the ideas of what made the saints great and what made them great, is really having an opportunity to think reflectively. And we giggle when we said we were going to have grade 1 kids think reflectively about their lives, but they are really actually capable of coming up with such insightful things when given the opportunity to do so. And so with our reflection journals, every Monday we release a prompt for the week. The journal reflection prompt is tied to our goals for that greatness sub-theme, and I'll share a couple of those with you in a moment. And at some point during the week, the teachers pause and give the students an opportunity to quietly reflect on the journal prompt. Everybody in the building from grades 1 to grade 6 do this throughout the course of their week. And it really has created a lovely, quiet moment of reflection that happens in every classroom a little bit differently. But throughout the week, they're taking a moment to pause. So in addition to our morning prayers and our midday prayers and our other opportunities to pause and reflect, our kiddos are getting a chance to really think about things in their life that matter to them and how that connects to God and to their spirituality and their faith. So every student has received, we have them for all of you. We're going to send them to Vanessa through interoffice. We had hoped to give them to you tonight when we saw you in person, but the students have really enjoyed this process. Again, sometimes when you say, okay, we're going to write, there's a lot of groaning. There's a lot of frustration, but even some of our kiddos that are writing a verse, excuse me, have taken the opportunity to draw pictures that emulate their response to the question. So this is just a sample of one of the questions we've asked, excuse me, for during one of our weeks. As I said, every Monday we release a new one. And sometime during that week, the students have an opportunity to reflect on those. At the end of the year, they're going to have they'll have this little memento of their greatness journal for the whole year through these prompts that they'll get to take home and share with their families. We did put the caveat on it that we're not marking spelling. The teachers only read them if the child wants to share them. We have, I will show you. So this was just another one of our prompts. And these grow and evolve as we go. So here's a little sample for you. These are students that volunteered to share these with the trustees. We explained what we were looking for. And it's so fascinating when you do look at the difference in the responses. There's one little guy here, Rachel, I'm not sure if this is the one, but he talks about one of his talents being he's a hunter, and he would love to hunt for everyone in Fort McMurray and supply people with food the way that St. Nicholas shared his money for the dowries. And so they're picking up on all of these things, and we get to see their learning as they work through the prompts. And it is really special when they decide that they want to share it with us versus kind of keep it private to themselves. So these are in the interoffice mail. It's a little goodie that you get from our presentation today. We will send them your way. Again, when we talk to the kids about the things that they've noticed the most so far in the first 5 months of school, they are really, really enjoying the faith buddy time. Having the big kids work with the smaller kids is really fascinating. As one of our intents is kind of fellowship, it's the big kiddos having to get down on the floor with the littles and work on something that is meaningful and connected to our faith is really lovely to see. The kids ask all the time, when is our next faith buddy activity? When are we going to get together with our faith buddies? And they've also taken on the challenge this year of each faith buddy is co-hosting a liturgy. And so they plan and work on those together as well. And it's just a great way, again, kind of tying it back into that student empowerment piece with Leader and Me, but we're giving our big kids an opportunity to share their faith with their littles and vice versa. You can learn a lot from a grade 1 or a grade 2 kid if you stop and listen to how they're playing and how they're interacting and the questions they ask. And it has been quite fun. And the other thing that they've been talking about is the greatness journals, that 15, 20 minutes a week to pause. Everyone in the building is working on it. No one's asking you to see it. No one's marking it. No one's assessing it. It's just a chance for you to write or draw about the prompt in a way that's meaningful for you. And so we will probably keep the greatness journals every year if I can convince school council to buy them for us every year in one permutation or another. But the students are in the very early stages of our greatness theme are showing an interest, and the staff is our staff is as well. So we were shooting for 25 to 30 minutes. I talked really quickly. I'm not sure if we've hit that mark, but we'll take any questions you may have or comments about year one of our You Were Made for Greatness.
That was a great presentation, Jason and Rachel. Thank you so much. So I'll open up the floor to my fellow trustees. If you can just use the raise hand function, that would be appreciated. And I see that Trustee Galanzowski is already ready.
I am already ready because I had so many thoughts, and I apologize for not having my camera on, but I don't feel real great. So it's so, yes, we were there in the heyday of it all and the frenzy of Leader in Me, which I'm very grateful, because it's um, the incredible time and financial investment in Leader in Me, I think, seemed, I mean, it was big at the time, but to see now the evolution of it into faith-based, because that gave us really a great foundation, right? Leader in Me really laid the foundation for the culture, and this just is a natural progression, natural evolution. So this is really really amazing to see, and I love the thoughtfulness behind it. I was going to ask a question about inclusion, but you answered it when you talked through the circle of love. Is what about those children who may not have? Because at first I was assumed, never assume, but I had made an assumption that it was a family tree. But clearly it is a circle of love tree and not necessarily a family tree, which creates a sense of inclusion for those who may not have the sort of standard or what we think of is as a family, and maybe in different circumstances. So I really appreciate the way that was framed, and I really just love that on the last slide about the one who was gifted, who said she was really smart, but not young Sheldon smart, but pretty smart. They're just, I mean, how rewarding is this job for you right now? Like, this is really, really beautiful. So thank you. I don't have a question. I just wanted to say that.
No, we appreciate that. I think we were really conscious when we were looking at the family trees. We knew that we needed to do something that allowed the kids to connect with their family, but also acknowledging that we have kids in foster care. We have kids that are cared for by aunties and grandparents. We have kids that have been adopted, and when you do that linear family tree where you link all your biological lineage through the tree to create your family tree, that can be an alienating experience for some of our kiddos. And so framing it as a circle of love, who within your circle is important to you, who cares for you, who loves you, was intentional to make sure that we weren't excluding anybody, and any of our kiddos with unique family situations, because we have lots in our building. Yeah.
I also think this framework can be adopted by other schools. I know we do still a little bit of Leader in Me, but the immersion of a faith-filled environment is that does kind of create a leadership pattern is very like, it's just absolutely so productive, so personal and so integrative. And I think we want to really kind of reach out to build our young kids into like growing Catholics who actually want to attend church and become strong in their faith. This is the kind of bridge to that.
Thank you both for that. So I see Trustee Byron has his hand up, but I also saw that Trustee Janvier at the very beginning had a hand waved. So I don't know if, do you mind, Trustee Byron, if we go to Trustee Janvier first and then?
Not at all.
Yeah, no, I thought I had my hand up, but I must have just waved. No, I think you might have answered it, but I was curious that, in your career, you've seen different, different themes or different ways of teaching things. And I'm just curious how you found this one different, or I won't say better, but like than some of the other ways you've done things in the past or at different schools.
It's a great question. I think it really it stems back to the part that Paula was kind of talking about how valuable Leader in Me was, and it really taught us the power of having a unified school approach to something that was separate from academics and athletics and arts. There was something that brought us all together in a way that had us working on our own development as people. And so we've done lots of things in the past, and we've experienced other things. We had shorter themes. We worked really hard on our division themes, but what we did is we looked at what made Leader in Me so successful, what made it so impactful for our schools. To Paula's point, we spent a significant amount of money on Leader in Me, and I firmly believe that it was worth what we paid for it. Because I came into St. Anne at the very front end of it happening here in the building, and to be able to watch what that grew into was really impressive. And our schools are still doing this today. And all of our principals that are still doing Leader in Me have kind of developed the program and have added our 4 core values and have added a faith component to that as well. And we were just looking, Kelsey, to kind of reharness that excitement that everyone felt when we were all working on something together at the same time. And then we kind of built out from there. It was important to us that this time around, it had a more blatant and apparent faith connection.
Okay, thank you.
Trustee Byron?
Yes, I just want to thank you for that excellent presentation. If I had school-age children, based on that presentation, I would not hesitate to entrust their education to St. Anne. It was beautiful and very touching, and I just wanted to encourage you with those words. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
Trustee Hoffman?
Yeah, thank you. I don't have a question either, but oh, sorry, getting things popping up on my screen here. But no, I just wanted to offer my encouragement as well and my gratitude to you. I remember this was probably 6-7 years ago. We were talking about the Leader in Me in one of our committee of the whole, and I think it was another trustee who's no longer with us, but he was saying, well, you know, what about Christ in Me? How do we take this incredible program, but then kind of make it a Catholic school district program? And I think this is one of the best examples I've seen of you doing that. And if I might even be a bit more bold, and to say that in my time as a trustee, this is one of the first school presentations that I've seen that is making a foundation out of the faith. You know, it often gets a nod, which is fantastic, but the way that you've made it the school-wide initiative to point to the dignity of the human person, to point to the lives of the saints as exemplars of virtue, and tying that to greatness and how we can look to them for inspiration. And even in your talk about self-awareness and the journal, you're actually teaching kids how to pray. The way that, you know, you can get a lot of grown-up adult books on how to deepen our prayer life, and the concepts that you're teaching are exactly what you would find in those books. It has a lot to do with taking the time, the silence, the self-awareness, and the reflection on where we are, what's good in our life, what do we need to change. So I really, really respect and admire that. And so thank you for doing that. Thank you for teaching the faith in a way that is engaging and that the kids are excited about. Yeah, I don't know if you know, I know you're talking about St. John Bosco and his feast days is coming up. Yeah, you're nodding, so it sounds like you know. So yeah, just thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Trustee Hoffman, Vice Chair Hoffman. I don't really have a question. I want to say, I just thought the mosaic is beautiful. I just love that concept, and I'm looking forward to when we can come and, you know, take a look around the school. And I wanted to ask you to extend our thank you to your school council for on behalf of the board for supporting your vision and your school theme, because I think, you know, that interweaving of the family in that way, I think is also very, you know, it's key, right, to the success of the program. So thank you in advance for the gift. As you were talking about it, I was like, oh, I could really use one of those. And then ta-da! So thank you very much. I'm sure we will all appreciate it and find it useful. And again, so to I think to what everybody spoke to already, it's appreciative to know that the investment in Leader in Me has morphed into this investment in faith, and just seeing what you guys have done with it this year, it's exciting, it's hopeful, And, you know, especially in these times, I think we could all use that extra little bit of hope and faith. And so all of your hard work goes very much appreciated. So thank you very much.
So, thank you.
And I will pass it back to Superintendent MacArthur Poole with just a quick note that we know you guys are very busy, so you don't feel like you need to stay for the remainder. You're more than welcome to, but don't feel like you need to stick around for the remainder of the meeting should you have other priorities like, you know, children.
Okay, thank you.
Back to you, Superintendent MacArthur Poole.
There we go. I was just trying to get the agenda back up on the screen. So next, thank you. Thank you to St. Anne's team. That was a fantastic presentation. We are moving to our a request from Father Mercredi School. So you might recall that this was, we had this on the agenda a couple of months ago. We, just because of the cancellation of our meeting, I believe, I pushed it through. So this is now step 4 for the Father Merc team for approval for this trip. So as I indicated earlier in the year, that we've changed our trip planning process. So now the baseball trip, they have spoken with parents. They have almost a complete agenda for their trip, cost, etc. So this presentation is now more typical to what you would be used to when a school comes to you with information about a trip request. So I'd like to I guess that being said, I'd like to introduce to you Lisa Miller, principal of Father Mercredi, and she will introduce her team to you tonight.
Well, hello, everyone. It's Brent Easton and myself that are here tonight. And of course, we're here to discuss, like Natasha has referred to, the step 4 of our St. Petersburg trip, Florida. A baseball trip, and of course we're ready to speak to you about any questions you have or concerns with how it fits with our curriculum, of course, and any risk assessment. So that said, I will turn it over to Brent. Now, Brent has been here at least 3 times already, so he is quite well versed in everything. So I'll leave it to him. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Can everyone hear me? I haven't done a Google Meet since, the pandemic in 2020. So I
Right,
sort of,
just not
like
to interrupt,
Jason's.
do you have a presentation that you need to share?
I don't have a presentation per se, but I am going to try to play a little picture slideshow of the trip we did back in 2023 in a moment, if I can get it to work. I was laughing when Jason said earlier about refreshing the skills that we came so used to using during COVID. So where I'm sitting was my classroom for all those months a couple years ago. So I'm hoping it'll work. In a moment, I'll try to share it with you. And I apologize if it doesn't, but it's basically a photo slideshow of the trip we did to St. Petersburg in 2023. And it's our intention or hope to pretty much do the exact same trip with this group of students this year. We don't have any students from 2 years ago that are currently with us, so it'll be a first time for all of the kids that are going. So the location is a place, as many of you may remember from 2 years ago. It's called Baseball City, and it's a one-stop shop for all things baseball as far as training and playing goes. And the complex is the old Tampa Bay Rays spring training facility, and they take care of everything for us. So we've done, I think this might be my 7th or 8th trip over the last 23 years, taking kids out of the country. And we've, things worked great in various places, but there was always something that we wish we could have changed. And for this place, the reason why we like to go back there, which we've never done, is that they take care of it all. So the hotel is booked through them. The meals are taken care of through them. All the games, all the practice times, the training sessions, umpire fees. We don't have to worry about anything once we get there. They have a full itinerary for us that is all intertwined around playing baseball first and foremost. So the dates for the trip are March 29th to April 5th. So we would leave on I think that's a Saturday morning and get back late the following Saturday, right around midnight, actually. But before I want to talk about why we want to do this and all that sort of stuff, I'm going to cross my fingers here and try to play this slideshow, and it'll give you an idea of all the things I'm about to talk about, what it actually looks like. So I'm going to try to share this with you all. Okay, oh, that's my actual agenda. That's ironic. Natasha asked me if I had one. Well, there it is. That's not what I wanted to show you, though. I'm hoping to show you this. Please let me know if this is playing.
It's not showing, Brent. You have to show that screen. So when you chose this tab, so you have to choose the tab that has your video on it.
Okay, let me try that again. Sorry, folks. This was a regular occurrence every morning during COVID. I'm not sure if it's going to do it, to be honest with you. It's just from a photo library.
Natasha, you're on mute.
I think your mic was muted, Natasha.
Yeah. When you open up the sharing tab, it should show all the tabs you have open, Brent, and you should be able to choose the tab that has the video.
Yeah, and I'm trying to do that, and I just can't see it for some reason.
Then it might not work. It might not. If it's from your photo thing, you might not be able.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Okay, sorry, folks. I'll just ignore that. Maybe I'll try to send it to you all digitally.
Put your agenda back up, Brent. That's probably
okay.
Good.
There we go. So I'll just continue on then. The next thing on the list was the actual purpose of the trip, why we want to do this every couple of years. I come to speak to you all to really try to showcase what it is that we do on a daily basis. My classroom is such a unique setup. You know, we're at the baseball field for when there's no snow, and then we're at Mac Island every day. And as public of a space that is for our classroom, no one really gets to see what it is we're doing all the time. So the purpose of us to go to these trips is to try to showcase the things that the kids are learning every day that they're with us. And then to do it in an environment where, you know, it's a hotbed for the sport that these kids love. Florida and California, Texas, those places are hotbeds for baseball. And so for us to go down there and play, they can really see how we stack up playing in Northern Alberta in the winter indoors. So we get an idea of where we stack up, and then the things that, you know, we excel at, and then the things that they may need to work on as well. And another thing that I don't even really have on here that just came to me is it's a life experience for them to travel. Some of them, when we start this process, when we go every couple of years, some of them have never left Alberta. They don't even have a passport, and they don't know what it's like to go through customs or to even use US currency, or, you know, see people that live a little different lives than we do in a place like that where, you know, there's no snow and that sort of thing. And so these kids will remember those things for the rest of their lives. There is some, I wouldn't say risk, but there is some things that are going to make it so it's a little bit tricky for them as far as being at a classroom. Like, they're going to miss 4 days of school. So we're very aware of that, and we build into our schedule daily. I think, as I've told you in the past, that we have a dedicated study hall session every single day. And usually we do it first thing in the morning, right after breakfast, get our homework in, and then go and do whatever activities we have planned for the day. And speaking of the activities, it is obviously a baseball focused trip. So there will be something baseball related every day. The complex will set up 4 games for us. They'll set up daily practices and training sessions. So we will typically get up, breakfast, do our homework, and then head to that facility for either a practice or a game, or sometimes both. They'll provide lunch for us there. And then after that, there's other things, but again, generally still baseball related. We will go to a college baseball game. The University of South Florida, which is a Division I college, is in Tampa, and we are going to go to a game there, and we plan on doing a campus tour as well. So, a lot of our kids, once they get to high school, they've been in the academy for 3, 4, 5, even 6 years if they stick with it all the way through. And they have aspirations of playing baseball after high school. And so we do this campus tour, and they get an idea of what that looks like, what it looks like for a Canadian student to play in the States, and, the costs associated with that, and what sort of scholarship type money there could be available. And so we do that. We'll also usually we go 1 week earlier than we're going this year, but we have a number of students who are rep hockey players, and their hockey playoffs are going to be on then, or potentially provincial. So we backed it up a little bit so they would still be able to go. But typically we go a little earlier, and we can go to spring training games, which are usually over by the end of March. So this year we'll be able to go to a Tampa Bay Rays game. They're playing a couple times while we're there. And then various, we may fill the rest of the time with various other tourist type activities if time permits. There's still a few things that aren't 100% finalized, like the college baseball game, for example. Their schedule is still not out for their year, so we don't know the exact day, for example, that they will be playing. And of course, on the Sunday, we'll be attending mass as we do every trip. That was part of the slideshow. We actually, the last time we were there, the church is only about 15-minute walk from our hotel. So we all got dressed up and we walked down to the church, and right away, of course, everyone knew, oh, these guys are not from here. First of all, our skin was as white as can be compared to the locals that live there. So we walk in the day after we got there, and the priest recognized us right away as not being from there. So he came and talked to us in front of the whole congregation. It was pretty nerve-wracking for a lot of the boys, but it was a great experience. And they talked about it after we got home as one of the things that they weren't expecting to be such a highlight of the trip for them, which was pretty nice to see. Next thing I have is the cost. And I mean, it is expensive. We recognize that. It's going to come around $3,500 per student. And that has a lot to do with the weak Canadian dollar right now. Some of the things are already paid for, but some of the things, they give us a cost, like the complex, for example, they give us the cost for all of it in one lump sum in the US dollars, and doesn't sound so bad, but when you convert it to the Canadian dollar now, it's pretty expensive. So the fundraising efforts have been well underway, and I am pretty confident we're going to be able to cover the entire trip cost through fundraising. So that's great. I know we have one family with two students in the academy, so that gets expensive, obviously. That's pretty much it in the gist of it. If you guys have any questions at all, I'd be happy to take them now, or comments.
Thanks, Brent. We did have an opportunity to review the trip request form.
Okay.
So I'll open the floor to any of my fellow trustees, if anybody has any questions or comments. Trustee Galanzowski?
Sure. Thanks, Brent. I know you've heard this from me before, but I really love that you, I think you're probably the only one actually that specifically builds in study hall or study time or homework time into your agenda. And not just one or two times. It's a concerted effort. And that's really, that's always been something that stands out to me about your plans. So I just really appreciate that, recognizing that some of these kids are into their grade 12 year, and I think, right? And so, you know, in 10, 11, 12, the value of keeping up and not, you know, having the opportunity to not fall too far behind while obviously taking advantage of this great opportunity. So I want to thank you for that.
Not a problem. I know the kids hate it at first. We had many just because they think they're free for a week, no parents, no school, and no responsibility of any kind. And so, you know, when we first used to do these trips, they were taking textbooks, and we had kids who left textbooks in California one year, or they were asking teachers for copious amounts of handouts. But now with the technology, everything's Google Classroom related, so it's very easy to do. And I keep telling them, I start telling them from day one, we're up at 6 a.m. every single day. Breakfast is 6:30 to 7:30, and homework is 7:30 a.m. till 8:30 a.m. And then you don't have to worry about it. Then our day, we can do anything we want, and we have already got our work out of the way. And by the Tuesday or Wednesday of the trip, they're used to the routine, and at least they don't complain around me anyway.
I just want to say that actually, when I was meeting with the kids upon return, it was the first time I heard kids say they couldn't wait to go to bed. I said, what did you look forward to? They said bedtime. They were so busy all day, they were exhausted, and it was quite humorous. They did not say they were looking forward to classroom time, but I'm sure they were about that.
Yeah, I mean, if we're going to do all this fundraising and have all this time away, my philosophy is we may as well get in as much as we possibly can. Some of those kids may never see that place again in their lives.
Brent, I know when I've revised our out of country policy, it does indicate that students only from grade 10 to 12 can attend, but I believe you do have a grade 9 student or a few grade 9 students who may be attending as well.
We do, yeah. So in the summer, I wouldn't say we were concerned, but we were aware of the fact that some of the grade 12 students weren't going to be in the academy for various reasons. And so the numbers were going to be a little bit low in high school. And on the flip side of that, our junior high academy was massive, and it was going to be almost 40 kids. And so we thought, well, you know, in many things that we do at Merck, the grade 9s are kind of on a high school template as far as their schedule goes anyway. So we thought, well, can we just take the grade 9 students from the junior high academy and put them in with the high school so that it balanced the numbers a lot better? And so then we started thinking, well, if these kids are all playing together every day anyway, and some of them were actually on the same baseball teams in the summer, then we were thinking, why wouldn't we offer them to go as well? Because first of all, we probably wouldn't have had enough students to actually make the trip happen. We're going with 16. We're asking for 17 students, but one family has chosen not to go. So we have 16 students, and that includes, I think it's 5 or 6 grade 9 students. So without them, the trips just wouldn't be possible.
I'll also add that when we moved the grade 9 students up, it wasn't without Brent looking at the skill level of those students, knowing that it would be more beneficial for them to play up because they were going to play up in the summertime. So it was a combination of both things to lessen our numbers, but it was more beneficial for the students to move on.
So then I just have a question, or not a question, maybe a comment more than on that trip request form. I think it speaks just to grade 10 and 11. So if that could just be revised, or was that revised and I missed it?
It's the trip request form. We haven't, because this was a special request to include grade 9s, and I let it go through because this was the first year. This is the first year of this new policy, so they were thinking about this early anyway. So I just wanted to point that out, because typically I guess in the future, we really need to look at the age group of only being 10, 11s and 12s. But I just wanted you to be aware that there are grade 9s on this trip, and I have approved it, but this wasn't, like, our intent is really to save overseas out of country trips for our high school students and not take junior highs.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I just have a couple of questions, sorry, Trustee Jombe?
Yeah, the only thing I thought of, one of the more of a comment, that I do think this is a really, there's so many benefits for kids to be able to go see a different part of the world, and especially with playing a sport that they love, and be able to see other things, and, you know, even possibilities of scholarships. There's all kinds of upside to trips like this. So I definitely think, you know, it's worth the effort that you put in there, Brent. And
perfect. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Trustee Janvier. So I just had a couple of questions, and mine are, maybe they're probably more like mum questions, I guess. Given the you know, the potential political unrest with the recent climate, and I don't think it's going to be prevalent so much in Florida, but I just wanted to see if that had been considered, I guess, when you were, you know, in your plans, or is it being considered in your plans, the potential for, you know, protests, that type of thing?
Yeah, we looked at that, and actually I noticed in this new process of field trips, when I got to the step 3 and step 4 talking about civil unrest and protests and those sorts of things. So I started to look up what sorts of crime rates there are in that area right now. And the actual area where we're going to be, they actually have them listed in like color coded sections of the communities, where, you know, green means it's very safe for different types of property crime or personal crime. I think that's what they were calling it, or violent crimes. And then as it gets closer to red, obviously that's the more dangerous. And where we're going, and of course that could change, but as of when I looked at this last week, it's all green around the St. Petersburg area. I think the one good thing about going there is it's one of the most visited tourist destinations in Florida. So it's, I'm not going to say there's no crime there. Obviously, that would be naive to say that. But generally speaking, from what I've read on it, it's a very safe place to go. And I don't think we're going to be in any places, even if there were a protest or something going on, I don't think we will come into contact with that at a baseball venue, for example, or the beach or something like that.
Great, thank you very much. And then the other comment I have is just weather-related events, which obviously, you know, you have no control over. But again, particularly given what's going on right now in California, and
Right.
knowing, I mean, I know when we travel as a family, you know, we always try to mitigate or look forward as best we can, knowing that you can't always. So just the contingency plans, I guess, in place.
Yeah, like I don't want to say there won't be a fire type of situation there. I think hurricanes are more of a worry there. So and of course, the area we're going to was hit with 2 hurricanes back to back in the fall. But they're almost fully recovered for the same reason I just mentioned, that it's such a tourist destination that it's their main industry, and people are suffering if tourists aren't there. So they've worked around the clock to get it back to what it once was. But for the things that we can anticipate, like hot climate, dry, humidity, we've done whatever we can there to mitigate risk there. I know the facility itself has water bottle stations, for example, or big water coolers in every dugout and batting cages and all that stuff all over the place. There's ample shaded areas, and there's air conditioned areas where we can go if it comes to that sort of thing. Obviously, we'll have sunscreen on hand because our skin won't be prepared for we'll be coming off a cold winter, obviously. So the first couple days, it'll take some getting used to. But if there's any sort of natural disasters, our plan would be to come home as soon as we could, like to adjust our travel plans as best we could, I guess.
And just to add to that, Brent, I think with our new policy, it does, we are collecting all of that contact information like we always did, but it is important that we have all of the medical information, the contact information, so that there is a communication tree of how that gets passed on to parents, and that we are prepared if they are medical emergencies, that all of that information is there for the students when they go, if they do have if there is a medical emergency. So
yeah, and we have all of that stuff collected already from parents, and I'll just carry a binder with me with all of that information in it. Also, the government of Canada now has right on their travel website a document, an official document, where if you're taking kids out of the country, you can get that printed off and notarized. Oh. And I have one of those for every student as well, just saying that I'm actually allowed to take their son or daughter across the border. And it's quite a process. If, like, say, for example, the family is divorced and dad lives in Ontario and mom lives here, then I also need one from dad in Ontario. And so we've crossed all those T's and dotted all those I's so far as that kind of paperwork goes.
Awesome. And the advantage is it's not typically hurricane season.
That's right. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Those usually are in the fall. We're hoping. When we went 2 years ago, it was sunny and 28 to 30 every day, except for the day we left, it rained, and that didn't matter because we were leaving anyway.
Okay, awesome. Superintendent MacArthur-Poole, do we have a motion? Is there anything we need to approve a motion at this point?
We should have a motion just to approve that the trip can go forward like we would normally. So if we could have a motion for the approval of the trip, please.
I would ask for a fellow trustee to provide that motion, please. Just using the wording that we have underneath the school field trips would be sufficient, I think.
I move that we approve a trip for Father High School to take their academy to St. Petersburg, Florida, on March 2025.
And all in favor?
In favor.
In favor.
Yeah, thanks, Brent. Sorry, it doesn't count, but yeah, okay. And so moved.
Great.
Congratulations,
well,
Father.
Thank you very much.
Academy.
Thanks for your time. Appreciate it. And we'll be happy to tell you how it went when we get home.
And thank you for all your hard work in preparing the request so I can't think of the word, robustly. There you go.
Yeah, it's quite a process now, but once you get through it and you understand, the reasoning behind all the documentation, it's the world we live in now, that's for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you. Good
And
night,
as
everyone.
previously mentioned, you do not need to stay for the remainder of the meeting should you have other pending commitments.
Perfect. Okay. Good night, everyone.
Good
Thank
night,
you.
everyone. Thank you so much.
Good night.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Principal Miller.
Thank you.
We move now to item number 10, Board Chair Report. I do not have a written report. The advantage or disadvantage of this time of year is that there's not a lot that goes on in during the December, January period. The only item I really have is to mention that Superintendent MacArthur Poole and I attended the Métis Elders Christmas Christmas dinner, which as always is a fabulous event. And we were able to be there when they posthumously, no, that's not the right word, when they when they honored our own Mr. Lucas Punko as the Métis Youth of the Year, which he jokingly said that he got in by the skin of his teeth, because I think it's only until you're like 29 or something like that. And I think he's on the cusp there. So anyways, but he was acknowledged for all of his work and leadership for the youth, Métis youth in the area. So that was a nice experience. Somewhere we have a picture. We'll make sure we get it to our communications director so it can be included in the board report for the month. And I now move it to Superintendent MacArthur Poole for the superintendent report.
Thanks, Chair Langmead. I'll just get my report up on the screen for you. All right. So I wanted to give some updates as to what's happened in the latter part of December and going into January. So obviously, at the forefront of lots of what we are facing as a school division right now is the current job action. So as of January 5th, our CUPE local informed us that they would be withdrawing all of their services. So up until just before Christmas and throughout the Christmas holiday break, they were just doing rotating strikes. So effective Tuesday this week, January 7th, it has been a full withdrawal of services. So our schools moved into our full strike contingency planning with alternative and some augmented programming being provided to our specialized programs and at-home learning being provided now to our mainstream students who have specialized programs or specialized needs that require support from an educational assistant. While this has been going on, all of our decision making has really focused around safety as our first priority. So in every decision that we've made with our students, we've looked at the safety of the student, safety of the staff, and safety of the other students in the classroom as the foundation for our decision making. We have regular meetings taking place with Alberta government representatives and the Fort McMurray Public School Division. Now that Sturgeon Public Schools and Edmonton Public Schools are also have received strike mandates from their CUPE locals, we will be meeting with them. We started a meeting last week, and those meetings will continue so that we can work together in our response and just use each other as we move forward in our decision making. In terms of happenings at the school, I've met with, I guess, 95% of the administrators with their growth plan and focusing on their growth plan and sort of a forward-looking plan at career movement for them, having discussions about where our administrators see themselves and how we as a division can support them in those movements. In terms of our schools, school teams are working on their AERR completion. So you will remember that you approved the division AERR back in November, and typically our schools then complete theirs based on the division model. But due to job action, et cetera, I've had to extend that deadline. So currently it's January 31st, and I'm hoping that our schools can meet that deadline. But of course, that is flexible because we do recognize the added hardship that our school teams are facing. And I want to maintain that we keep the flexibility there so that we can be understanding of what they're dealing with at the moment. Our high school teams are preparing for the semester 1 diploma exams and final exams. So they started today with the FLA 30 Part A. And those Part A exams continue with English tomorrow, social studies on Wednesday. And then we move into Part B for French, FLA on Thursday. And then our Math 30-1 and 30-2 begin their diploma exams on Friday. All of this is happening while high school classes are finishing their first semester. So the last day for high school classes is Friday. This is posing some difficulties this week because our educational assistants and our support staff do offer a lot of support for us in the supervision that is required for our students with accommodations. So we do have division office teams going to this high schools to support them, and the schools themselves have had to change the location of the exams. So we try to have them in classrooms where students are most comfortable writing their exams. But we have Holy Trinity writing diploma exams in their school theater, and Father Merck is writing in the gymnasium. So there's one location for exam writing. So it does help with the supervision, reducing the number of people that we need to supervise. We are looking at the draft calendar for next year. So it has been, principals are sharing it with staff. I did forget to share it with the public school, so they now have it, and we are comparing our two draft calendars. So in all of my trying to get it out a little bit early this year, I did forget about them. So we are working together to match our PLFs as much as possible moving forward. And we have shared, or we are starting the process of nominating a Catholic Education Award winner. So that's been shared with our school staff. So they're looking at who they would like to nominate for that award for the CCSSA. We also are starting late, as we normally do our stakeholder surveys, and we start them in December. So we are starting that process now. It has been shared with schools, and we're starting this stakeholder survey with our students. And later on, we will be sharing it with our teaching staff and parents. And then once our support staff return from their job action, they will have an opportunity to complete our stakeholder survey. We are, of course, acknowledging that our survey results are going to be different this year because we are in job action, but this data is important for us to collect so that we can complete this current education plan when we submit next year's AERR, but we also are in preparation for our 25 to 28 education plan. So we do need to collect this data. It is important for us to get this data. Every year we look at our data and how we can do our data collection a little bit differently. So this year we are adding focus groups to our data collection. So we will be sending division office teams to all of our schools 4 to 12 to have one-on-one with a selection of students from each school. So that we can get we can dig a little bit deeper into our data, not just using survey data. So that will be new for us. So we're really looking forward to seeing the type of information that type of engagement will give us. So we're starting with students, and then next year that might expand to other stakeholder groups. And we have updated some of our APs. So 2 of our APs that have been updated, AP 206, which is our family life, human sexuality education. That one was I updated to just make sure that we have a time frame for when these lessons are completed. So in the past, sometimes these topics are left for the month of June, and I think it's really important for these lessons to be completed before spring break. So that was the main addition to this AP, was that there was a time period, I think it's from March 1st to the beginning of spring break, that these lessons have to be completed. Of course, we do have all of the lessons posted on our Facebook, or sorry, not on our Facebook, on our website. Those are posted at the beginning of the school year for parents to acknowledge. We are still operating on the idea that our parents, if they do not want their children to be included in these lessons, they have to send in the permission forms that will be sent out. So we're still on an opt-out procedure. We haven't moved to the opt-in because that hasn't been adopted yet for Alberta education. And I've also revised our APs that deal with medical conditions, allergies, and medicine, as they were very top heavy and there were too many forms for our schools to fill out. So now if you go into them, there is a form for some specific medical conditions, and then also a form that allows parents who need our staff to distribute medication, because sometimes our kids are on antibiotics and things that are on a tight schedule. So there is an AP and a form for parents to fill out. So I've tightened up that area, which I think will make it a little bit easier for our schools to collect data and information about their students. And that's it for me for my superintendent report. Are there any questions that you'd like me to answer?
Does anybody have any questions?
Okay, thank
I'm
you.
seeing none. I just have, sorry, quickly. I was going to actually ask you about the opt-in, so thank you for clarifying that. Your admin policy 312, I just noted that it at one point it mentioned Form 3, and it looks like Form 3 is no longer included, or at least it wasn't in that grouping. So if you just want to take a peek at that at some point, I had it under, it was item number 2.5. It referenced
Oh,
Form 3, and I think Form 3 was the diabetes form, so I'm not sure.
Oh, so that
Im-
form we're still working on. So that one
Okay.
hasn't been approved yet. So it's
Okay.
a little bit more labor intensive, and it hasn't,
okay.
we haven't completed that one yet. So
Okay.
that's it will be there, it just isn't
It
there
would,
at the moment.
yeah, it was just more of an aside as I was looking. I was like, oh, 1, 2, oh, yeah. And the school AERs, those, I just want to confirm, those are internal, right? Internal to the division. They're not.
They don't
Like-
get sent, no, they don't get sent
Yeah.
to Alberta education, but they are internal for our stakeholders to view. So they will be posted on our division website as soon as they are complete.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, I just have to see where we are now.
So I think
Okay.
I'm on the next topic as well.
Yes, you are.
So I'll just pull up our strat plan survey. There we go, slideshow. So thank you to all of you for completing the survey that we sent out over Christmas to look at, to help build your strategic plan that we've been talking about. Of course, the strategic plan is essential for my team as we use that as the backbone when we prepare our new education plan. So when we, hang on a sec here. I've moved because I was looking at it earlier. Let me go back. There we go. So our strat plan, your strat plan helps us build the division education plan. So getting your input from the discussions we've had at the board table, and then we chose to use this survey to kind of finalize and fine tune what the information was. So our plan is to collect the data from the board work plan, some of the survey data, etc. And we have a draft framework to present to you today. And then we are hoping to have the final framework to present to you in February. So from the SWOT analysis that we did from your survey data, these were the things that were indicated as being the core focus of our school division. Lots of great things, of course, providing the faith-based education, advocating for the school division through various communities, our excellent education through Catholic worldview, etc. We also looked at and asked you about where you felt the primary strengths of the board and maybe potential weaknesses of the board were, so that we could of the board operations, so we could use that information in our planning. So some of the strengths, a diversity of thought and experience, that we are striving for continuous improvement, that we have a really good relationship between the board and senior admin. Some weaknesses, we've interestingly enough, we've changed our focus on how our structure of our board meetings. So some maybe as a weakness and a positive change that was highlighted, that sometimes we maybe don't have enough emphasis on Catholic values, that we sometimes struggle getting information or getting info from constituents, etc. So some of these are some of the things that were identified. We also had strengths and weaknesses of the school division and school division operations. So, the fact that we have excellent teaching and support staff, that there is, we make efforts to ensure equitable access to education, that we are looking at, or we always distinguish Catholic from public education, diversity of programming, etc. Potential weaknesses, perceived lack of autonomy that could hinder operational decisions, lack of succession plannings for some key positions. And we've all noticed, that the staff morale is obviously being impacted for a variety of reasons, but that continues to be impacted this year. Some of the biggest obstacles for future success. I don't want to read all of them, but we do have things like funding and balanced budgets, and whether we're progressive or not, or maybe too progressive in some of our decision making. So when we looked at all of that and pulled some themes, obviously some key themes came out of all of our data. Faith continues to be an important theme, which it should be. Health and wellness continues to be an important theme. That's been a focus of the board for a few strat plans now since COVID. Inclusion is probably somewhat new, and that's probably indicative of the job action that we're facing, and trying to be inclusive of all of our students despite the job action and how we can support them. Continued focus on educational excellence, board governance, and board advocacy. I think advocacy is probably a newer theme that we haven't seen in prior strat plans. Some of our stakeholder data from our assurance surveys, from 2000 or so from December 2022 and December 2023. That just to reassure us that our schools are doing well. So we have really good survey data that, you know, that our parents and our guardians feel that their kids are welcome, that our schools are safe, that they would recommend our school to a friend. So that's all really positive data that have come out of our last couple of surveys. So that being said, this is really what we've got for potential pillars that we'd after, of course, we're going to do a little bit more with you in the upcoming days and upcoming weeks before February. But this is essentially what we're looking at as the pillars for our upcoming strat plan from the survey data, from you, from our past surveys, from our discussions that we've had. Collective faith formation and mental health and wellness have been themes for the last couple of strat plans, and I believe they should continue to be. Stakeholder engagement and board advocacy would be somewhat new for us. Educational excellence, I think it's just framed a little bit differently, although it has often been in our strat plan. So those are what we're looking at for the pillars for our upcoming strat plan. And we will continue to discuss that with you and get more trustee input from you as we help build the strat plan for you. Is there any questions on that?
Opening the floor to my fellow trustees. Look at that. You guys are so well prepared.
Great. So I'm looking forward to continuing to work. So thank you for completing that survey, because it did help us really articulate what our thoughts or what your thoughts are. And I know it's sometimes a struggle to get us all together to do this work. So this is a little bit different format for us, but I think it's been looking. I think it's not a bad format to use to help us build that strat plan or helped. Yeah. And I think that's it for me, Chair Langmead.
Thank you very much. We move now to item number 12, which is board items for decision. And as mentioned earlier, we have two policies that we have reviewed and made some changes to. So do we have, I think Vanessa had them up on a different agenda, an older agenda maybe? Or maybe not. I don't know. The actual motions?
Now.
Sorry?
If you refresh your page, they're on there now. Your regular board agenda.
There.
Yeah, I do see it on ours, or on the one that we have.
Oh, perfect. Okay, yes, thank you. All right. So if you want to open up, are you able to open up the approval of revised board policy 5? And since we have reviewed that policy, I would ask for a trustee to provide the recommendation.
Be it resolved that the Fort McMurray Catholic Board of Education approve the revised board policy 5, role of the board chair as presented.
And all in favor?
In favor.
Thank you. So moved. Trustee Byron, would you like to get the next one? Board policy 7?
Be it resolved that the Fort McMurray Catholic Board of Education approve the revised board policy 7, board operations as presented.
And all in favor?
In favor.
In favor.
So moved. Thank you both very much. Now we move to item 13, and I cede the floor back to Superintendent MacArthur Poole.
Thank you, Chair Langmead. I'd like to introduce our Deputy Superintendent of Human Resources, Lisa Hilson-Taker. And I will put your presentation up there for you, Lisa.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. That'll save me. I have way too many tabs open. Perfect. So of course, right now, our main focus is ensuring that our schools are covered with the job action that is happening. So schools continue to navigate the classroom coverage with having fewer substitute teachers, and that's mainly because our TASs are part of our QP union and they're not in our schools covering at the moment. But as a result, so went back to December 9th, took a look at all of our open positions, and we were fortunate at that time to have a 90% fill rating, but that does leave 10% of our jobs uncovered on a regular basis across the schools. So it does leave the schools strapped at times and in a bit of a flurry trying to make sure that they have teachers for the day. While we're not actively seeking anybody for any positions right now, we are starting to look for our teachers for next year. So we will be recruiting at the U of A, U of C, and of course St. Joseph's College this month. And we hope to start recruiting our local Keano students for positions that will be coming up around May and June. And as Natasha mentioned that they're looking for our Catholic education winner, we'll also be looking for our outstanding first year teacher. So those nominations will begin soon. And once we have those names, we'll be able to announce our local winner. So we have all of our positions filled right now. As we said, we're fortunate that we do have some of our maternity leave positions. Those teachers have come back, and so we've been able to keep our positions filled, and we don't have very many second semester postings available. Well, actually none at all as of right now. So that's great news. Support staff, all positions are filled. We have some current positions that we are waiting to be posted, but given the job action, we will wait till everyone is back before those positions go out. And as usual, we have our substitutes and our TASs, but we're just relying on our substitutes right now to manage and support the schools that need coverage. So that's HR. Thanks, Natasha.
Thank you, Lisa. Okay, let's go back to the regular board meeting. There we go. So we don't have, we don't have a report from the Secretary Treasurer this evening, Chair Langmead. So you can go into your trustee report section.
Thank you. Okay, so moving into the trustee reports, I do not have a report for the Alberta Catholic School Trustees Association. We will not have a board meeting, board of directors meeting until February. Trustee Galanzowski, do you have anything from ASBA Zone 2-3?
I actually do not because we didn't have a meeting, just because I am not prepared, and I apologize for that. And we also, our meeting was very, I don't know, it was very sort of non-substantial, our last meeting in December. So there wasn't a lot to report out of that anyways, but we do have a meeting on Friday, of which you will have a full report.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Trustee Janvier, anything from the collaboration of Catholic School Councils?
No, we have future meeting. We haven't had a meeting since our last one. So
okay, and Trustee Hoffman, anything from Grateful Advocates of Catholic Education?
Nothing to report. No, it was quiet over the Christmas season.
It really is a quiet month. From the perspective of our meetings and reports. So our next regularly scheduled meeting is on February 10th, 2025. And with that, we now adjourn our meeting from the public. But I would ask that
Point of
all
order.
remain.
Trustee
Yes,
Lightfoot.
Trustee Galzowski?
Cannot adjourn. We move
Sorry.
into.
Sorry. I am now looking for a trustee to move us into